Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
In this episode, it's back-to-back draws for United at Brunton Park as they failed to pick up all 3 points against Crawley and Hartlepool. We look ahead to our weekend trip down to tabletoppers Forest Green Rovers, and we give you a lowdown on the United 40-hour fans group announcement.
I think you're practicing these, aren't you?
I am, but I think I said United 40 rather than Uniter 40.
We'll let you off.
We'll let you off. Yeah, quite quiet day, Dan, I think it's fair to say.
Steady away.
Not very much happening. We'll touch on that in a little bit, of course. But yeah, a bit of a bump back down to earth. Last couple of games, hasn't it, I think? So some of the excitement has been well after Bradford.
Yeah, yes and no. There was a couple of mixed games, wasn't it? You know, I mean, Crawley was sort of a point rescued, whereas Hartlepool had the feeling of 2 dropped sort of thing. So pros and cons in both.
Yeah, but obviously late on in the Hartlepool game, we could easily have lost that game with a couple of late chances that they had. So, you know, we've got to look at the positives there, I guess. I think it's fair to say. Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get on to it then, Dan. First up, news. One little bit of news this week that emerged after we recorded last week, didn't it? Obviously, Keith Millen's been discussing the possibility of some of the youngsters at Brunton Park making a loan move to get some game time in this transfer window, and Taylor Charters became the first to do so last week. He made the journey down the A69 to sign for National League Northside Gateshead on an initial 1-month loan. Good move for him, this, isn't it? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, Gateshead top of the National League North at the moment. They're playing well. They've got quite a good attacking lineup. Kedwin Scott's there.
Yep, Adam Campbell.
Macaulay Langstaff and Paul Blackett, you know, they're all decent North East non-league players. And, you know, I mean, some people were like, oh, National League North. The top half of National League North is as good as the lower half of the National League.
And you know what? Actually, going to a side that's playing well, playing positive football, and exciting, getting good crowds as well. He's playing from decent crowds there. That means a lot.
I did see a couple of people say, "Oh, you know, I'd like to see him gone to a National League team." But when you look at the sort of the northern-ish teams, he's not going to walk into the team at Wrexham or Notts County or Chesterfield. Yeah. So it makes sense. If, you know, a team that's playing well. By all accounts, he's played well in his first couple of games. And, you know.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want him to go somewhere, but he's more likely, not necessarily guaranteed, but more likely to be playing each game, isn't he, really? That's the key thing. You still want him to have to fight for his place, but it's funny, I saw a Gateshead fan tweeting saying, don't know why they've signed him, he's not going to get in the start 11 of our midfield, and thinking, maybe he will. But yeah, he started the first 2 games, did well. He started at Hereford at the weekend, helped them to a 2-0 win against the Bulls, and then a 4-1 win at home to AFC Telford in midweek. That leaves the Heed 1 point clear of Brackley at the top of National League North. And
the words Brackley and North don't really go together.
It's mad, isn't it? It's not as bad as Gloucester, I think it's fair to say. No. But I mean, AFC Fylde, obviously the big Spain is that division. Everyone's expecting to fly up, and
I think they're third at the moment.
Yeah, they're 6 points clear of them. So yeah, it's good things, and it's one of those ones I think if he does well enough, I think we should really be looking, maybe extend his deal by a year and just give him the rest of the season there. Because if you can win a title there, imagine how confident he would come back in the summer into our squad. Yeah. That's the big... Rather than bring him back just to sit on our bench. I mean, it's one of those ones. He could have stayed with us. He could have got his odd 5-minute here and there, couldn't he, as a sub. And part of me would rather he was doing that than maybe Devine or someone a bit more positive. But at the same time, I think it's better for him and us long term that he goes there and plays his games.
Added to that, we'd like to sort of see, you know, Dixon, Bell, possibly even the Fish, you know, depending on how the transfer window goes. It's better that they're playing games. And he's also mentioned Simons and Breeze, the 2 young keepers, might possibly be getting moves lined up for them. So it's all good.
I think at least one of those has got to go on loan really to get a bit of game time. Right, well, let's move on to the next point, Dan. And this is one that we've both been involved in, haven't we? So, a little bit of an announcement today. I've not really scripted this one in the running order because I think it's just good that me and you just have a chat about it, really, because give people an overview. So, I'll let you take the lead on this because you've probably been. I said we've both been involved. You've been very much involved in it, getting everything organised in the last week or so, haven't you?
Unit of 40 is a collection of Carlisle fans who have come together following an initial appeal. There's 12 of us, and basically we just want to see our fan base have a better voice. You know, I mean, the grand plan. It's no grand plan. I'm starting to like this saying a lot. We're not reinventing the wheel. You know, it's not the silver bullet that'll explode and make everything perfect. All it is we have a supporters trust who own 25% of the holding company of Carlisle United. We have an average home crowd of 4,000. We have 400 members, that's 10%. In the last couple of AGMs, there's been approximately 50 voted. That's 1.25% of a home crowd, you know, which is ridiculously low. You know, 50 people out of 4,000 in a crowd, you know, voting on a group that have such a major say in what happens, you know. So, yeah, the whole idea is join the trust, more people, more voices, and as people join, you know, somebody will maybe say, hey, I've got skills, I'll give a hand to this, you know, and, you know, no disrespect to those on the trust board, but most of them have been in place for several years. And
that's a good point, isn't it? It's very much stagnated a bit, hasn't it? And that's like I said, we're not having a go at them, but the simple fact is, you've got the same people on each time, and people look and think the trust isn't doing enough, and they see the same face on every time. There's a feeling, well, what's the point? The whole point is you get more people involved. You can potentially have more voices, and more people volunteering themselves for these roles.
You know, this isn't a hostile takeover on anything. No. You know, it's just it's more a let's get members involved, and then you, the members, can decide what you want. And if after we've tried all this, it falls flat, nothing happens, we can say, well, we've tried and we've got the trust we deserve. You know,
yeah, exactly. And we said in the statement, you look at Exeter City. They're not a bigger club than us, and they got 3,600 fans in their trust.
Incredible! Think of the money you could make as a trust with that sort of membership.
Yeah, you get that sort of money. I mean, I'm trying to be kind here, but I mean, you look at the trust and they talk about having 10 grand in the bank and stuff like that, and you think, look at these other trusts and how much money they actually raise for their clubs each season. I'm pretty sure Grimsby have done similar down the years as well, and there's a few others that have, you know, they regularly raise money. I think Wrexham did before the Reynolds lot took over, didn't they? So there needs to be a bit more than just that, really. It basically just needs a bit of invigoration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like I say, getting fresh people involved, fresh voices, and like I said,
kick up the backside, basically.
100%. That's exactly what we're looking at, really. We're looking at just freshen up. I think the failed takeover basically has sort of made a lot of us wake up, hasn't it? And go,
yeah. Well, I would say that failed takeover sort of it happened as we had the initial meeting and then set up our working group, and that sort of happened as we were getting to grips with it. And we could have went down the avenue of setting up an independent group and getting people, but that would have taken time, effort. You know, it would have taken a lot of time, and you know, at the end of the day,
they own 25% of the club, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I mean, they should be doing more. There should be something a bit more vocal about it. And you know, we've spoken to so many different supporters on this podcast over the last 2 years, and the ones that have been involved in trust of a club have all turned to us and sort of gone, "What, you own 25% of the club?" And you know, nothing really seems to happen with it. And we're like, well, yeah.
It's almost embarrassing, isn't it?
They've only got 400 members, and that's I mean, for goodness sake, they've only got a small amount more members than the London branch have.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the case. They should be, you know, they should be crowing about the fact that there's 1,000 members, and you know, they had the opportunity a few years ago with the.
I was just going to mention that when the season ticket holders, it was about 1,500 got given trust membership for a year, and in that year there was zero happened. So come the following summer, 1,500 left, and with the greatest of respect, a lot of the people at the top table now were in charge then, which just comes back to your stagnation part. You know, it's You know, fresh air, fresh members, fresh ideas. You know,
I mean, you look at some of the things in recent years, fundraising things for the club, for things to do with the club, blowing our own trumpets here, things like the flag things like the transfer fund, which, you know, that actually arose from other people, didn't it? They're the ones who suggested it and started up. These things haven't come from the trust, and they're the ones who should be leading these things. They're the ones who should be pushing it, and that's what we want to see. There's a lot of decent people involved in the trust right now. There is, of course, there is, but there needs to be a bit more fresh blood in there. There needs to be something that really says, right, this takeover dragged on for 2 or 3 years, and I can understand the reasons why they had to keep quiet, you know, confidential.
Oh yeah, don't get us wrong. There's certain legal issues, you know, but
they've got to understand how frustrating the fans found that. That's why people get frustrated with them.
Things like potentially cutting your 25% to 10% without taking it to the fans. That's dangerous territory, you know.
Definitely.
But it is what it is. We've launched. We're on the usual. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a Twitter. We have an email. Big thank you to Radio Cumbria, Paul Newton at Radio Cumbria, and John Coleman. Yes. They've done pieces for us. The links are all on the Unit of 40 Twitter. So
and we've tweeted for them from the Brunton Bugle Twitter account as well, so you can find them on there. We'll do similar on Facebook as well.
Have a look, follow, and get joined, and let's get a proper fan base with a proper voice.
100%. And obviously, you can sign up. Just go to the Kiosk website. It's kiosk.org.uk, and there's an option there to apply for membership. Get yourself signed up, and let you know at the next AGM. Let's have lots of people there talking about what does the trust want to do going forward. Because for me, there doesn't seem to be any sort of plan in place, and that's why we need a wider number of fans to be involved and give their say. Because, you know, in our group of 12, there's people with different opinions as to what we should do.
Oh, yeah. It's not all being he says, we follow, you know. It's
definitely.
You know, but it's constructive discussion, you know.
It's been constructive. We've all come to the point where we're like, you know what, let's do something. Let's actually be proactive here and show that, you know, we're looking to support things here and we're looking to get things going. So yeah, it's that's the way we're looking at it, and hopefully a lot of you will sign up. And like I said, we're also sort of not in some sort of list of these are the good guys sort of thing. There's a list of like these are the people who've agreed to join up, just to show that people are doing it and people are positive about the club. Yeah. I think that covers it, Dan, doesn't it? I think it's
pretty much.
Rounded up pretty quickly there. So, right, let's get on to the match reviews then, Dan, because we've got 2 games to cover. Not a huge amount of detail to talk about from both games of mine, because they weren't actually I say that, they weren't the most thrilling, but the second one, actually, I think that the Hartlepool game for a 0-0 was quite an okay game, actually, to be fair. But yeah, very much a reality check for United this week. Following up the impressive win over Bradford by grinding out 2 consecutive draws against Crawley Town and Hartlepool United. Keeps the unbeaten run going. That's the big positive. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I said after the 2 to a couple of my mates, you know, at the end of the day, 2 games unbeaten. There's another clean sheet in there, and especially the Crawley game, we'd have lost that if it was in September or October.
Oh, 100%. That was the big positive. We kept going, and we said this before, under Beach, we'd never look like scoring late on in games.
Yeah.
That was one of the most infuriating things, actually, about
and I'll tell you
his time as manager.
You can't beat an injury time equaliser, can you?
Oh, 100%. It was just that lovely moment, wasn't it, really, to get it so late on as well. But yeah, I mean, you know, keeping the unbeaten run is very welcome indeed, but I think there was enough evidence in both games to show that there still needs to be a bit more recruitment in attack if the Blues really want to force their way up the table before the end of the campaign. Let's get on to firstly talk about the incidents in the Crawley game, Dan. First up, the goals. Obviously, Crawley took the lead in 25 minutes through, and it was only going to be one player, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But as I said, it's the first time he scored against us. I think he's missed a few games against us, hasn't he, with injuries and things like that in the recent times. But yeah, Ashley Nelson got the goal. Yeah, he probably won't have many either chances though, will he? I think it's fair to say. It's one of those ones, isn't it? It's basically with a ball back from Whelan back to Morgan Feeney on the edge of the box, and if you watch it, what he tries to do, he tries to sort of trap it with his studs, doesn't he? So he can almost roll it in front of himself and get a pass away quickly.
It wasn't the best of passes from Whelan either, was it?
No, but at the same time, I thought at the time, but watching it back, I think it wasn't quite as bad a pass as I remembered it being. Yeah. So it's one of the ones with Feeney, I'll look back and probably say, I should have done better there, really. And he knew that straight away. Didn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
Problem was he turned and he slipped, didn't he, as well as he went to try and get to it. And Madison nipped in and you'd back him any day of the week to score from there, wouldn't you? So we'll talk about his penalty a little bit later on, though. In fact, let's talk about it now, actually, because that was before the equaliser. Penalty to Crawley.
Never a penalty.
It's one of those ones.
Never a penalty.
I know a lot of people say never a penalty, but my thought in real time was it's just one of those ones. The defender turns to go and kick it, doesn't know that the attacker's coming in, just boots the attacker a little bit.
Yeah.
How much he touched him, I don't know, but it's a risk you take if you turn it like that on the ball in the box, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah.
Tough one, but there you go. Dan Madison then stepped up to take the penalty, obviously to get his brace. I don't think I've seen many worse penalties at Brunton Park for a long time, have you?
Yeah, it was sort of Richard Keogh into orbit levels, wasn't it? It was atrocious.
It was pretty dreadful, wasn't it? It was one of those ones where I think you'll look back and think, what was I doing there? Why didn't I just place it? I'm not sure what his technique was about. It was a strange one. He was very much leaning back, and there was only one place he was likely to go. So it was an odd one, and that was a bit of a get out of jail for United, and they kept going late on in the game, and we've bemoaned the fact that United haven't made the most of set pieces in the last couple of months, in fact all season, but I mean, it was as good a corner routine as you're likely to see, wasn't it? Excellent delivery to the near post from Dickinson. Alessandro loses his man, nips in and just powers ahead. And Morris had no chance with saving.
No, keepers have no chance with that sort of movement and header, do they? It'll have been in the back of the net before he realised,
Yeah, it's great to see Alessandro back on the score sheet as well. His first goal this season. He's not had the best of times, I think it's fair to say, this campaign.
No, and it sort of backs up my mention, was it last week or the other week, that you can sort of see a role for him coming off the bench. He's a good seasoned pro to have late in a game. So
absolutely, I think he's still a player who's going to be useful for the rest of the season. I think it's fair to say. That was the Crawley game. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Let's talk about the Hartlepool game, Dan. That's our 5th 0-0 in the league this season. We can't have many seasons where we've had more 0-0s than that, can we?
A lad I know has been to 4 games this season, and all 4 of them have been 0-0. Brilliant.
Unbelievable,
Brilliant.
isn't it? Why would you bother? You just I'm not going.
I think he said he's not going to go back this season. So
don't blame him. I think it's fair to say. Another clean sheet though. That's a big positive. We get quite a few clean sheets this season, haven't we? I think that was Howard's 9th in all competitions since he signed for us, which is in itself that's quite an impressive.
Given the league position and the form, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's only played 18 games in all competitions. So he's basically keeping a clean sheet every other game, I think, if I remember rightly.
It shows how much we've tightened up in recent weeks as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's played a big part in that, which we will cover in a short while. Yeah, but I mean, the big thing that stood out was just how toothless both sides were in attack. I mean, we talked about Carver, who they signed from Southport, and we were interested in for a brief while before deciding not to go any further with it. I mean, he didn't look up to much, I think it's fair to say. For us, neither of our strikers really ever looked like they were going to score. And yeah, just a frustrating night really, in pretty dreadful conditions in the second half. So you were at the game, I presume, Dan. I wasn't there, obviously, because it was a midweek one, but it didn't look much fun.
I thought we could maybe have taken one of the first half one-on-one type, but Dickinson was incredibly unlucky with his free kick. He rattled that. You heard the noise when it hit the bar and then bounced down with force, And
the thing is, it bounced down and it actually hit the keeper, didn't it? But somehow bounced out.
Yeah.
So frustrating, isn't it? All the things.
If we were in the top 7, that would have went in.
Exactly. That's one of those ones, isn't it? Just would have gone in your favour. And other than that, I think there was that chance for Patrick when he was through on one-on-one with the keeper, but he fired it straight at him. It's one of those ones where maybe he's a bit sharper. He might have taken it a bit further, wouldn't he?
I think it was one of them, like, he didn't expect to be.
No, because it was a mistake, wasn't it? It was a mistake.
And he was like, oh, I better fire a shot off, whereas he probably had that half a second to compose himself.
Because that was the one, wasn't it, where basically Mellish punted it forward and the defender tried to head it back, didn't he? And what he was quite doing, I don't know, but Patrick nicked in, and just one of those ones, isn't it? And at the other end, though, 2 late chances for Hartlepool. They could have nicked it, couldn't they? It's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the first one especially. It's one of those ones. It comes to the lad at the far post, and he slides in, and Howard he just gets a foot on it and he manages to push it up onto the bar. When I first saw it, I thought, has that hit the bar and come back down and hit him? It was hard to tell on the telly, but yeah, great save from him. And then late on, at the very last kick of the game, pretty much, to get down low and save at his near post. And he did the same against Crawley, actually. We didn't actually mention that. Later on against Crawley, they had an attack after we'd equalised. Lad was through. And actually, I thought he'd taken a step to the left and exposed his near post. I thought, what's he doing? But actually, with hindsight, what he's doing, he was creating an opportunity for him to be able to save it in a weird way, taking that step rather than potentially getting done nearby his feet. So, he's as big a part of those 2 points as anything, really, in the last couple of games, wasn't he? So, wasn't hard to see why both teams are near the bottom of sort of low mid-table, is it, really, down there? Two sides that don't look like they're going to go down, but probably not going to be challenging near the top at the end of the season. It's fair to say.
Plenty of time yet.
Don't get too excited. Come on. But no, I mean, to be fair, looking at over the two games, I thought Crawley were a much more impressive side than Bradford. I thought they caused us a lot of problems, actually. And their front three in particular really lively. Nadesan, Nichols, and I can't remember the other lad was now. But the number 20, all three of them really caused us a few issues in defence. Hartlepool, less so impressive in attack, but the back line was quite impressive. They look really solid, and
Gary Liddell played
Gary Liddell had a great game. For the other lad at the back, I can't remember his name was now. He won pretty much everything, to be fair, up against Omatoy and Patrick. He was really good. Pass it about quite nicely, but took a lot of risks. Kind of a feeling of, could we have done a bit more to put a bit more pressure on the back line?
Well, like I said at the start, the Crawley one was definitely a point saved. The Hartlepool one was 2 dropped, and it kind of cancels each other out, don't they?
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's just the way it is sometimes, I think it's fair to say. Let's talk about some of the sort of key points from the games, Dan. People are probably going to think this is a bit harsh, but I've got to say, wasn't overly impressive on Matoya over the two games, and his performance, I felt, was a little bit lacking. And a lot of people got very excited about his debut, and I think I certainly said on the last episode, people probably need to be a bit calmer about that, because he had a decent second half. I don't think he was man of the match. That was one of those sort of give the lad a bit of a boost on his debut decisions. And in these two games, you kind of see why Orient didn't stick with him and let him end his loan early with them. I think it's fair to say. Am I being harsh, maybe?
Maybe slightly a little harsh. He's still settling in, three quick games. But, it was... Tuesday especially wasn't the best. But, you've got to remember, he hasn't played that much football. No, so
it's true.
He'll be getting up to speed himself.
Yeah.
And
my concern is that he hasn't actually made a keeper make a save in those 3 games from memory. I was trying to recall it, and maybe he hasn't, maybe I've just missed it at some point, but from my memory, I don't think he's had a shot where the keeper's had to save it yet, so that's a little bit concerning. But, like you said, it'll take a bit of time to settle in. Personally, I know we'll get onto the preview of the Forest Green game in the second half, but I'm not sure I'd start him at the weekend. I think I'd maybe change things up a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen, he only used 2 subs against Hartlepool, didn't he, I think?
Go on, set me off again.
Yeah, it's something we can talk about, Dan, if you want. I would have liked to see Riley come on. I would like to see him come on for Matoya.
I think there's quite a few people thought the same, wasn't there?
And stick Mellish up front. Because tell you what, he'll run all day and he'll harry back lines. And there's one thing we need to do is harry that Hartlepool back line, because they were passing it about all the time. And they looked, they're taking a lot of risks. But with someone like Mellish doing that, suddenly they have to start panicking and they would have to start launching it long, and that's when we could have got on top in the game, potentially. But go on, Dan. You talk about the subs, because I know it frustrates you.
I've mentioned it previously. I just think, there's probably a reason behind it, especially when we were winning, and you've got subs left to make them and waste 30 seconds. That's basic football tactics, really. But no, just, maybe it's just... Maybe he doesn't trust those who were on the bench. We don't know. It's. I think the next couple of weeks, in terms of, will anyone else come in? There's. I've got Sky Sports News on here. There's 11 and a half days left, so I would certainly expect to see something next week, possibly.
Yeah, I do wonder how much clubs are being reticent to let players go out, especially some of their better players, because of all the issues with games being called off due to COVID and wanting to have full squads and not wanting to let players go. There's where you've got a bit of a challenge on your hands, isn't it? Maybe, I suppose. So, we've signed a couple of players who really are going to make a difference in obviously Senior and Patrick, and we hope that Omotoy can step up and improve his game a bit. So we've got some there, but I think we could do with a couple more at the very least before the end of the window, I think it's fair to say. So it's one of those ones I think I'd like to see maybe freshened up in attack at the weekend. Mark Howard, once again, the hero for this game against Hartlepool, and he's made such a huge difference. We've already touched on it, but I mean, getting him signed up for the rest of the season, huge that for us. That was the difference that makes.
It's clear he's the number one. Norman's the backup, and wherefore art thou Lucas Jensen?
It's just bizarre, isn't it?
It's
bizarre. Just say he's gone back.
There's no pictures of him on training. I mean, he could still be injured. He might still be injured. But
with hand injuries do tend to take a bit of a while to broken hands and stuff. So.
It's been a while now.
It has. A couple of other points here, Dan. I mean, Joel Senior, pretty bright performance for his debut against Hartlepool. Coming on. Kelvin Miller.
Obviously, Miller has upped his game when Senior signed, as we saw, but took a knock and had to come off after about half an hour, was it?
Yeah, something like that, I think it was, yeah.
So Senior got a good hour. He got up and down quite well, I thought, and he's only going to improve once he gets used to his teammates and what we do.
There was a couple of times where I thought he's getting into these bad habits that some players do with us of, we know what all his positives are of him getting forward and attacking and going at fullbacks, and he turned back a few times and I was like, oh, don't start doing this, please don't. But then to be fair, after that, he actually started getting it forward again and thought, that's what we want to see. We want to see him pushing into the opposition half. I don't want to see him passing it back all the time. I know we like to play out from the back now. We'd like to keep the ball a bit, which is perfectly fine. I'd have no issue with that. But if we've got a fullback who can really have a go, Armour's not that kind of fullback really. He's very good on the ball, but he's not really a bomb forward, beat two men sort of player, is he?
It'd be interesting to see if in training this week, Senior and Gibson do a bit of link-up practice.
That would be good to see, wouldn't it?
Gibson usually starts on the right. And...
to be fair, Gibson's had a couple of quiet games, to be fair. Last two matches, he's not really been as involved as we'd hope.
Preparing himself for Saturday.
I hope so, because actually I think Dickinson's probably been our biggest threat in the last couple of games, and he had a tough first half against Crawley a bit, but actually I thought the second half he was much better, and he still looked our biggest threat at times, and there's a few times Omotoy wasn't making runs from him, was always really frustrating me, because he's got the pace, Omotoy, and he should be peeling off a defender and creating a bit of space, but he didn't. So there you go. And just one more thing, Dan, we've got to talk about before we go into the second half. The free kick Dickinson took, how wasn't that a penalty?
Yeah, you did a screen grab and sent it to me, and it looked inside.
It's a good yard inside. It's not even close. It wasn't even on the line. His arm's literally about a yard inside the box, and it's touching the ball, and you think, how's the ref missed that? It's one of those ones where it happened so quickly, I think. The ref just can't tell, and he's like, look, I can't get... If I give a penalty here, I'm going to look stupid if it's outside the box.
If I give a free kick just on the edge of the box, it's
still a chance, isn't it? And Dickinson nearly dispatched it into the top corner, but there you go. So 2 points. A little bit disappointing maybe not to get 4, but hey ho, you move on.
You'd have took 4 points before, but 2 with no defeats and a clean sheet chucked in. Given where we are in the league, it's not the worst, is it?
To be fair, from the 3 home games in a row we just had, if you'd been offered 5 points before and you'd have said, yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, you're taking on average pretty much near enough 2 points a game. Great. Fantastic. Let's move on. Right, well, let's take a little quick breakdown and then we'll be back to do the preview of the Forest Green game. And we're back for the preview of the Forest Green Rovers game. Just remember, everyone, you can subscribe to the podcast via all good podcast apps, whether it's Spotify, Acast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Just click subscribe, and every time a new episode comes out, it comes straight into your inbox. And as well, if you can give us a review, you can now give reviews on Spotify, actually. And I know a lot of our listeners do listen on Spotify. So you can go on there and give us a 5-star review. That'd be fantastic, because it pushes up all the charts and things like that, and means more people can find out about the show, which is exactly what we want to do. And you can follow us on social media, at Brunton Bugle, on Twitter, on Facebook. Just search for Brunton Bugle and click like. And we're on the message board, thecumbrians.net, and we're also on the Be Just and Fear Not Facebook group. And if you want to go old-fashioned style, as my mate Simon very much enjoyed me describing it as this, you can drop us an email to bruntonbugle@gmail.com.
You'll be asking for letters next.
Carry a pigeon address, I'll give that out as well. As ever, this season, the second half of the show has been sponsored by the Carl United Supporters Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carl United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips, as well as arranging many social events and sports games and doing fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section this season too. You can find out more about London Branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. And I've got the pub for this weekend's game, Dan. It's for the Forest Green Rovers game. It's the Village Inn, which is on Bath Road in Nailsworth, and the postcode is GL60HH. So there you go. That's the pub to go to, apparently. Right down that bloody hill by looking.
I don't think there's many pubs, is there?
It's about 2 or 3.
Is it your first trip this week as
My
well?
first trip, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're both going, aren't we? So.
Yeah, so it should be exciting. That should be exciting indeed. Well, after a couple of weeks off, we're back with the Behind Enemy Lines opposition view. This is one of our favourites because we talk to our friends from across the pond. Yes, the self-confessed pair of dumb Americans who knew nothing about soccer. It's the Heavens Devils podcast, the Forest Green Rovers USA podcast. If you haven't listened to their show before, go and give it a listen. It's absolutely mental. But it's a bit different from your average lower league podcast. And they say they're dumb American. They do themselves a discredit there because they are probably as knowledgeable as any lower league fan I've ever met, to be honest. So Nathan and Shyam, I spoke to them earlier this week. Basically talked about all kinds of things, all to do with Forest Green Rovers, what it's like following them from afar, that kind of thing. I also did a bit on their podcast. They have a thing called the Fashion Police section, where they basically review the kits of opposition teams throughout the division and give them ratings out of 10. They weren't impressed with our home kit, and I might be controversial amongst our supporters, and I agreed with them. In fact, I gave it a lower rating than they did. That's how much I dislike our current home kit.
I'm not a massive fan either. So.
I think it's time we stop doing this as our home kit. Because every time we do it, we're absolute crap, aren't we? So there you go. So anyway, I had a chat with them earlier this week, and here's the chat that I had. Okay, so we're joined once again for the second time this season, maybe the last time for a while though, by the guys from across the pond who cover Forest Green Rovers for their podcast, the Heavens Devils podcast. Guys, I mean, last time we spoke, you were flying high, top of the league, free scoring. What's gone wrong? Clearly nothing, but I mean, surely it's only a matter of time before you go up now. It's not a case of, if, more a case of when.
Oh, it's hard. I don't know. You're always worried. Like things can always go wrong. And especially, for longtime Forest Green Rovers fans will know that there's always been like an epic collapse in the second half of the season.
Yeah, around winter time, right? January, February is like,
the
anxiety level is always high.
Exactly. But I do think this year will be different. I agree with you. I think we will go up. I think we will win the league actually. Because it also, again, knock on wood, but January is halfway through. We haven't lost anybody, and it seems like we might not lose anyone at all. And that's always like the big fear. We were very worried about losing Kane Wilson and Nicky Cadden, our 2 wingbacks who have been phenomenal, 2 of our best players this season.
Yeah, or possibly even Rob Edwards, the manager, maybe getting poached.
Yeah. Rob Edwards getting taken from us. So we're worried about that, but it seems like they're going to stay and finish out the season. There are rumors about Ibu Adams potentially I don't know, he's been linked to a few championship clubs, but who knows? And you know better than anyone, Lee, about those stupid rumor Twitter accounts. Yes. So who knows? But right now it seems like, and according to Dale Vince, no one has really made a serious offer for any of our players. And so hopefully that continues. And we can keep this team intact and keep rolling.
Let's talk about a couple of those players then. I mean, the 2 obvious ones to start with, and we'll talk about Ibu Adams in a sec, but Jamil Matt and Matt Stevens, 29 goals in the league between them. I think we've only scored a couple more than that in our full squad. So, I think you scored, incredible what they're doing. I mean, obviously, Stevens was the one scoring freely, I think, last time we spoke, but then Jamil Matt's picked up his form again, hasn't he? I mean, how big are they? I mean, having two, not just one striker who's scoring goals like that, but two strikers in such phenomenal form.
Yeah, the Mat Attack, man. The Mat Attack. They are on fire. I think they have 29, like I said, 29 goals between them, 15 for Jamma, 14 for the People's Champ, Maddie Stevens. Oh my goodness. And look, as dumb Americans, we love scoring. We hate draws, we hate 0-0. Oh, get that out of here. We love scoring. So this season has been a dream for us because it's like every game, either Jamma or Maddie, someone from the Mat Attack is going to score. It's like you can set your watch to it. They have just been so much fun to watch, so dependable, so reliable. Jamma is, he's 34, 33. He's just gets better with age. It's just unbelievable. Shyam, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and I mean they've received such great service from Nicky Cadden and Kane Wilson on the flank. Part of it. So we're just happy that the whole team is kind of firing, and the two Mats, Maddie Stevens, Jamil Matt, have been able to take advantage.
And actually, I just want to comment really quick. Not only Kane Wilson, Nicky Cadden delivering assists, Jamma's also delivering assists. He's got 7 assists as well. So he's just been the complete all-around player for us. It's hard to pick a player of the season. But Jamma might be it. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing at this age.
You mentioned Nicky Cadden there. Our fans always bang on about the fact that he was in Scotland, wasn't he? I think you guys signed him from Scotland, and we always look and go, why aren't we signing more players from Scotland? We're practically in Scotland, as you guys have said before. We always seem to get the duff ones for some reason. But I mean, you mentioned before, when we had a chat for your pod, Abu Adams out playing in the African Cup of Nations. How's he getting on? I mean, he's always been a very good player when he's played against us, but it must be quite incredible to be able to watch him playing international football as well at the same time.
Yeah, he's playing for the Gambia out there, and so far they won their first match against Mauritania, right? And they drew with Mali, which has Premier League players on the national squad. So I think he's having the time of his life.
Oh yeah, we just talked actually. There's a famous FGR fan, famous in the FGR community, who's actually Gambian. And he's there right now watching Ibu. He wears his FGR match or FGR kit to every match. And so we actually have him on our pod, our most recent pod. And yeah, he's telling us like, it's amazing. Everyone's praising Ibu. Everyone from the Gambia side, everyone's like, who does he play for? And then he tells them Forest Green. And they're like, what? Who's Forest Green? This little tiny little League Two team. So yeah, he's really making a name for himself out there. People are really seeing his talent, his work ethic. It's all shining through.
Yeah, it's funny, like Forest Green, actually, when you think about it, it sounds like one of those random African teams you hear about, like a Hearts of Oak. And it doesn't sound like a lower league British team, does it? It's a strange one. You mentioned there before as well, your manager, Rob Edwards, first season really as a manager at EFL level at the very least. What a job he's doing. He just seems to be, he seamlessly slipped into the role, hasn't he, really? I mean, you lost Cooper towards the end of last season and you had Jimmy Ball in charge for a while, for the playoffs at least. And he seems just to have picked it up and taken it to the next level.
Oh, he's been ridiculous. It's unbelievable. When we first signed him, a lot of fans were like a little upset because we thought Jimmy Ball deserved it because Jimmy Ball did such a great job picking the team up, re-engaging the fans after the Cooper era. But at the same time, we know Richard Hughes, our director of football. We know Dale Vince. We know they make excellent, and Henry Stalen's the CEO. We know they make excellent football decisions. So when they said Rob Edwards, we were all like, who? But whatever, we trust it because we trust these guys. They've been so good at their jobs, and they delivered, beyond any of our wildest expectations. He's been phenomenal. We actually have a player on our most recent pod, Josh March, and we talked to him about Rob, asked him about Rob, and he's just like, yeah, Rob just makes everyone believe in themselves. And, he gets the most out of players because they believe in themselves, because they're not afraid to make mistakes, because they know Rob is understanding of that. So yeah, he's just changed the dynamic on the pitch and off the pitch because, Cooper's known to be kind of a colder, type personality. And Rob is the exact opposite. He's embraced the fans. The fans love him. The players love him. We love him. I mean, he's been unbelievable.
We should also take a moment to acknowledge Richie Kyle as well. He goes a little bit unsung, but he has kind of done wonders with organizing us at the back. And players that have come back like Jordan Moore Taylor, Dom Bernard, they've really stepped it up. And even Udoka Godwin Malif in the most recent match, they've kind of made game-saving plays and goal-saving plays. So it's both this tandem, I think, of Rob Edwards and Richie Kyle, who've just revamped the approach that the squad takes. And, we're just happy to be there to witness the success so far.
It's funny you mentioned Mark Cooper there, because he's obviously manager of Barrow now, and we share Radio Cumbria covers both Carlisle and Barrow. So we hear his post-match interviews sometimes. He's a grumpy sort, I think it's fair to say. He's not the happiest man at the best of times, really. So Barrow's struggling a bit this season. Yeah.
FGR Nation would agree with you.
Yeah, just keep your Christmas safe, because he might come to steal it. That's all I'm saying.
We'll come to the end now, but I'll just quickly... how are you guys finding it as well, following it from afar as well? I've obviously seen you've had your little meetups in bars in New York with some fans you've converted to follow the club as well. Seems to be going well. And have you got your trip finalised? Because last time we talked, I think you were looking at it for sometime towards the end of this season. But obviously, Omicron and all that sort of nonsense, and it's causing issues for travelling everywhere, isn't it? So how are things going in that sense?
Well, yeah, it's been. I mean, we've been getting together when we can every Saturday, but yeah, with the emergence of this new variant, we've been watching on our own. But I think next week, maybe the week after that, we're going to start getting together again, try to do another bar. So we've been watching. We've been all watching together. We have a big little whatever FGR NYC like chat group too. So we all watch the games together. We all text each other when we can't be together, and then when we can, it's just so much fun. We all get together and watch the games, and we are coming. Lee, I wish it was for a Carlisle game, but we will be there April 18th for Oldham at home, and then we're going to go Bristol Rovers away on Saturday, whatever that Saturday is, but in April, mid-April. So cannot wait. Our first trip to the new lawn, our first trip to a League Two game, an away day at Bristol Rovers is going to be awesome. Cannot wait.
Oh, that'll be good. Well, that's pretty much a derby game, that as well, isn't it? I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head. I think 23rd of April, we're away at Harrogate that day. I think I'm going to see us play Harrogate. I'm going to a gig in Manchester in the evening that weekend. So sadly, wouldn't be able to get down to come and see you guys. But yeah, would have been nice if we could have done. But I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you look at it now. You obviously guys are a League Two club, and you look like you're going to be a League One team next season. And you think of all the grounds you've been going to this season. Some of the grounds you could be going to, potentially Sunderland, Wigan, Ipswich.
Wow.
Derby County could be down at the level as well. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? For little Forest Green in the most unpatronising way. I mean that possible. A club that small to be then playing at that level, like the likes of Accrington have been up at that level. It must be really exciting to think about next season.
Oh, it's
absolutely
so exciting, but you don't want to get ahead of yourself, you know.
I know. And you were going to say that as soon as
But that said, like I think as Forest Green fans kind of take pride in getting made fun of for being tiny and tin pot and So I cannot wait for us to take 279 people away to Sunderland and hear all the banter from the Sunderland people. We love that. We like it's like we know who we are. We know that it's a tiny club, but we wear that as a badge of honor. It's a source of pride that this tiny little village club punching above their weight. And so that would be unbelievable.
Yeah, we need to get like a fan mascot or somebody out there in like a gray or silver bodysuit with a few pots and pans on, Timmy the Tin Pot or something.
Yes,
we need to lean into it, I think.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll quickly wrap it up then, guys. I know you've got other people to speak to today. Prediction for this game? What are you going for? What's the algorithm saying?
The old algorithm. It's never
hit
failed.
It with a shimmy. What do you got?
Again, like you guys have had much better form. So it's great to see that you guys are on the upswing a little bit after a rough start to the season. You said we're both up there on the form tables. So I still think we're going to edge it. But I do think you guys will get a goal, but I'm going to call it 3-1 to Forest Green Rovers.
I got to go 2-0. We're going to have Don Bernard is going to get a goal. His first goal ever as a Forest Green Rover. If you guys are betting, bet responsibly, but responsibly bet on that. Guaranteed happening. Don Bernard gets a goal, and our most recent podcast guest, Josh March, is going to get a goal just because he's going to get the Heavens Devils bounce. So 2-0, Don Bernard, Josh March. Take it to the bank.
Yeah. All our listeners are going to hear my prediction later on in the thing, so I'll be interested to see what I say. I'll be interested to see what Dan says about it. Dan's very much an Dan at one point this season predicted 5-0 with our goalkeeper scoring 3.
Love it. Love it. We love those
Dan is my kind of guy. That's my kind of prediction. Let's go.
Doesn't care sometimes, but there you go. Guys, always good to catch up with you. Good luck for the rest of the season after this weekend, of course. Hope you guys do get up to League One, and we'll see you in the Cup next year, probably.
Yeah,
Looking
Lee,
forward to it, Lee.
man. It's been so fun getting to know you. Like the last year, 2 years, year and a half, whatever. Yeah. I think we've had you on, and you had whatever. We've been in contact every single game. So this is our 4th meeting, I think. I'm bummed. Like that's the only bad thing, about going up. If we do go up, knock on wood.
Well, listen. We'll do this. We'll go up. We'll top League One for like 3 weeks, and then we'll come back down to League Two, and you can have us back on. So we share this Carlisle experience.
No, we don't want that negativity. No, Carlisle's coming up to League One next season.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
And then we'll meet again. And then we'll meet again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
So there you go. That's the chat that I had with the guys from the Heavens Devils podcast earlier this week. Really good to catch up with them. It's a shame we probably won't talk to them next season. like I said to them, hey, maybe we'll draw them in the cups. Maybe we'll get a nice little game against them then. And I really hope they enjoy their trip over to the UK later this season to watch Forest Green. I mean, they could be celebrating promotion around about the time they're coming. So fantastic to see end of April. Let's talk about the game then, Dan. Referee this weekend is Craig Hicks from Surrey. It's his 5th season as an EFL referee. Funny enough, normally when I look these up, and I go back and look through the lists of times on the referee, they do 2 seasons in the National League and then they come up to be a referee at Football League level. He did about 4 or 5, so it took him a little bit longer to get into the Football League, which is interesting. He's taken charge of 21 games so far this season, handing out 59 yellow cards and 5 red cards.
That's quite a high percentage of reds, isn't it?
It is actually, to be fair.
Three yellows a game's about average, but 5.
Yeah. Quite a few of those have come recently as well. I was looking a look before the reds. He last took charge of a United game in December 2019, the 3-0 defeat at Colchester United, which was one of Chris Beech's first games in charge, I seem to remember. I think was that the only appearance that Charlie Birch made as well for us, I think. He came on as a late sub in that game, possibly. From memory. I'm trying to recall here, but that seems about right. Head-to-head record is pretty balanced in the 13 times we've played them. 5 wins, 3 draws and 5 defeats. In terms of last season, I mean, they looked like they were flying at the start, didn't they, Forest Green? Looked like they were going to get a top 3 finish, no problem. And then as it all seems to happen under Mark Cooper, it all started to go wrong. And they dropped down the table a bit. They binned off Cooper, brought in Jimmy Ball as manager till the end of the season, and they managed to finish 6th. But they were beaten in the playoff semi-final by Newport County. I mean, I can't remember if you watched that game, Dan, but that was an epic match, that wasn't it? That game they played.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was awful conditions as well. The weather, from what I recall, and Kevin Ellison scored an absolute worldie in it. So yeah, there you go. This season, though, I mean, they are flying. First position, and they've got 52 points from there. I think it's 24 games so far. So I mean, they're averaging more than 2 points a game.
About a week ago, and of teams at sort of like the halfway point, they were several points better off than any other team in recent years.
I mean, for me, they're just nailed on for the title. The only team that I can see challenging is Tranmere now. They've got a couple of striker in maybe, but even then, I think Forest Green's that gap they've built is enough.
Some senior balls up for them to not go up.
Oh, they'll definitely be top 3, but I struggle to see anyone else for top, to be honest, the way they're playing right now. They've been fantastic this season. They're 18 positions ahead of United and 25 points. That's astonishing, isn't it? Nearly twice as many points, which says a lot. If they win this weekend, they will be more than twice as many points. Their manager is Rob Edwards. He was appointed in May, just after the end of last season. Don't know how long his contract is. They never said, actually. I tried to
Not
find
the
out.
Rob Edwards, the other Rob Edwards. He's one of those who is like
3 or 4.
2 or 3 Rob Edwards.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So this Rob Edwards is the one who started out at Aston Villa and ended up playing quite a few games with Wolves and Blackpool. I think did he get promoted to the Premier League with Blackpool? I think I seem to remember, or the Holloway possibly. But in terms of coaching, I think he retired quite early. He was interim manager at Wolves and also under 23 coach there. He also had a spell managing AFC Telford, and before he came to Forest Green, he was actually a coach for the England age groups. I think under 16 and under 20s. I think he did both of those. I mean, he's undoubtedly the standout coach in the division this season.
You'll have contact through doing that sort of coaching as well.
Exactly.
You speak to a lot of clubs, don't you?
Yeah, but the thing is, not really made many signings in the summer, Forest Green. It's generally the squad that was already there, and I
don't think they needed to really, though, did they?
He's just got the extra little bit out of them, hasn't he? I think that's a real sign of a good coach, and I'll be honest, if they go up this season, it'll be an incredible achievement, and I can see bigger clubs sniffing around him, can't you? You
would expect, further down the line, you your Bristols and Cardiffs and Swanseas will always keep an eye out on managers doing well in the vicinity.
Yeah, definitely. Last time I've put down, actually, last time it was the 1-1 draw at Northampton. They actually tried to play their game in midweek, but if you've seen the footage from it, how on earth they even tried to kick that game off, I don't know. Yeah. I think it lasted about 3 minutes because it was basically thick fog. And even the Forest Green Rovers Twitter thing was saying, someone's had a shot for us, but we don't know who. Keepers saved it. And at that point,
I think it was one of them where, the other team are there, the fog's descended. We'll try, but if we can't, we'll have to call it, Yeah,
and obviously got abandoned. But they actually played last weekend. It was a 1-1 draw at Northampton. Have you seen the goal that they scored in this game, Dan?
Yes, because I have several Northampton Town fan friends, and one or two were very vocal about the goal.
It was not a goal. And to be fair, even the guys from the Heavens Devils podcast, they joked about it. They put a very funny Photoshop where they'd drawn the net out a bit further than it actually was to suggest it was. I mean, it was never a goal in a million years. No. Footage from the other side
showed. They got away with one there, didn't they?
Yeah, and Northampton got a 90th minute equaliser. I think that was a little bit of justice at the very least in that game. But yeah, I mean, Northampton are flying anyway, so that's a good result for them to get a draw there. Yeah. In terms of the form table, they're just one place above United in the form table. Third of the last 6 games, but their record is 1 drawn, 1 drawn, 1 drawn, which if you're a fan of sequences, doesn't bode well for us on Saturday. I think it's fair to say. I mean, let's have a quick look.
We're the ultimate sequence breaking team, though.
Still be a draw then.
No. I'd take a draw.
0-0. I would take a 0-0 right now. 6-0 in the season, no problem. So a quick look through the squad, Dan. I mean, it's not a big squad, is it? Actually, when you look through it, not huge, but there's quality in all positions, isn't there?
Yeah,
that's what stands out. I mean, at the weekend I was looking, Bailey Cargill was on the bench for them, and he's been an excellent player for them. So for him to be on the bench, tells you a lot.
I'm always been a big fan of Nicky Cadden.
Yeah, definitely. Nicky and Kane Wilson on the other flank as well. Yeah, they were both excellent in that game at the start of the season.
Up front, Matt and Stevens are 2 standout names straight away.
I'm fairly sure they've scored more goals between them than we've done all season.
That wouldn't be hard this season.
Which is quite telling, isn't it? Really, they're not quite. They're second and third in the League Two scorers table. Dominic Telford at Newport is top at the moment, but those two are the ones to watch basically, aren't they? And the problem is, if one of them's not having a great game, the other one is. And as the guys from the Heavens Devils said, Matt's all-round game as well is so good. He's such a big, strong attacker. And, it's only the fact that he's in his 30s now that there isn't bigger clubs sniffing around him, really. That's the reason.
I do also like 2 double-barreled names in the defence.
Yes, Godwin Malief and Moore Taylor. I also love as well the name Harvey Bunker. There's something about that just brilliant.
It reminds me of I think we had a couple of games where we had Mep and Walter beside Archibald Henville, and it was the most un-Cumbrian centre-back pairing name-wise you could possibly ever have.
It sounds like a couple of Tory lords, doesn't it, really, when you names
it's
like that?
An 18th century solicitor's office who was still around,
Exactly that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, even in the attack players who aren't playing, I mean, Josh March went on loan to Harrogate and he caused us problems in the game against them last season, didn't he? He's a good player. And I always look at that, and Vaughan Coville looks like he's missing a few vowels from his name, to be honest. It's a weird spelling of his name, isn't it? But yeah, just not a massive squad, but quality. That's the key thing. And they're probably not players of massive wages either. They've signed really well, and they've obviously had to sell a few players in recent years, but really well run club. In terms of news, I mean, the 2 big ones, Ibu Adams, their midfielder, won't be playing this weekend because he's currently in Cameroon playing in the African Cup of Nations for the Gambia.
Love a law league call up for something like this, mate.
Fantastic, isn't it? Fantastic, isn't it? And apparently he's doing quite well for them. But they've coped well without him as well, which is worrying, I think, isn't it? Really a worrying sight. And the only other bit really is the fact that their new stadium plans are progressing well. I don't know if they've started work yet, but I noticed that I think the EFL gave approval to the plans, didn't they? Quite recently, I think. And if you haven't seen them, go and look them up because it's something different, isn't it, for a low league ground? It looks really different. Good. Well, it's wooden, but it looks kind of looks more like a sort of bowl almost, doesn't it? But it's only a 5,000 seater, so it's not massive, but it looks bigger actually when you look at the plans. So it's perfect size for them though as a club. They don't need anything bigger. It's going to be instead of being in the village, it's going to be right by the motorway junction, so people from across Gloucester will be able to get to the ground a lot easier. So I'm not sure Cheltenham and Gloucester City will be pleased about that as much. But, for them, it's a great sign of progress, isn't it? So good for them. Good for them. Let's talk about United then quickly, Dan. Injury-wise, we're pretty sure Kelvin Miller's going to miss out. I mean, I'm surprised if the swelling comes down.
The way he walked off and the fact he had a protective boot on lends itself to the fact that he's highly unlikely. But
doesn't mean it's a bad injury.
For senior.
It doesn't mean it's a bad injury, does it? It just maybe means you need the swelling to come down a bit, don't you? That takes a while sometimes, stuff like that. But like you said, yes, senior, good chance for him to come in and impress, maybe. We're pretty sure Jensen is injured. We don't know what's happening. Well, let's move on from that one. Gimme Toure has been training and doing a bit of light training on his own, hasn't he? I think in the Neil Sports Centre. I saw a few videos he put up, so he's probably getting a bit closer. Whether he'd be involved or not, I don't know. But yeah, one question of the weekend would be, I suppose, if Mellor's out, what have we got defensively to put on the bench? Would you have to bring Jack Ellis in, maybe? I don't know. Or would you just rely on Devine as a backup and Dickinson, obviously? Whelan, I suppose, yes. Yeah. So maybe you bring Josh Dixon onto the bench, possibly, or Lewis Spell. Don't know. It's going to be one of those two, you'd think. But, or the Fish, if he's fit again. Because the Fish actually missed out the last couple of games because he had a knock. As much as anything. And there's a few rumours swirling around that Tristan Abrams could be on his way out, possibly. So
yeah, we've seen a whisper today. We haven't heard anything on it.
Nothing on the jungle drums for us too so far on that one, is there? So
Twitter seems all quiet so far.
Yep, so far.
Guaranteed something will get announced in a couple of hours after we finish recording.
Yeah. So in terms of lineups, I mean, you're not going to change your back line, really, are you? Other than seeing you coming in for Mellor, that stays as it is.
Yeah.
Midfield pretty much stays as it is, although I'd like to see Mellish go back up front because I think he's looked lively then. He's caused problems. So do you bring Riley in? It just doesn't look like he trusts Riley, which is interesting one, isn't it?
Will Whelan be back in a bit more defensive, given the...
I think that's probably the more sensible choice of the two, I think, to be
Whelan beside Guy, and then Mellish...
Patrick up front.
Mellish and Patrick, possibly. Well, Patrick looked tired at the end of Tuesday, didn't
possibly,
he?
but then maybe you bring on Matoya on later on in the game for a bit of pace.
Then again, you could say the same about Patrick after an hour or so, couldn't you?
Could do, couldn't you? Well, let's do some match predictions then, Dan. Mike sent me in his, but I'll have yours first, so let's have your prediction.
The head says we'll get beat, but the heart says we'll get a point. I'm going to go for a 1-1 with a goal from Omatoy.
You're showing a bit of confidence in him. That's good. That's good to see. I'm not going to show confidence in him because I'm going for someone else. Now I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. I think it's going to be one of those away days because me and you are driving all the way down. This just happens every now and then. I'm going to go for a sneaky 1-0 win. Back to the wall.
We're due a daft one, aren't we? We are.
Yeah, John Mellish to get the goal.
Yeah.
I think he'll just run around like a nutter and he'll have the game of his life. So there you go. I'm going for 1-0. Let's hear what Mike's got to say.
I'm actually feeling quite positive, and I think that we can nick a 1-1 draw with Mellish on the score sheet for us.
Well, so there's not a huge amount of variety between our choices.
Mixture of our two, that wasn't it?
Yeah, it's fair to say. Right, before we do the X-File section, Mike sent us a question. Hopefully it's a bit shorter than it was last week, because that was ridiculous. So let's hear what Mike's question is.
Many Blues deem our 1-0 home defeat against Forest Green during the conference season to be a real low point in their time supporting the Blues. Which former Blue scored against us in that game? And also, and if you get this right, you need locking up, to be honest with you, who was our unused sub-goalkeeper for that game?
Oh, Christ.
Goal scorer, I can tell you straight off, Damon Searle. He scored the winner for them. I remember that. Because I was at that game. So it's Damon Searle's the goal scorer. Goalkeeper, I think it was it Will Boys or something like that, wasn't it? He was the young lad who was from Leeds United. I think we had him on loan, or he signed after he left them as a youth. Oh, Will Boys.
Wasn't Boys. It was.
Can we get this between us?
Oh, I think Will's right.
Yeah.
Was it something like Cole or
Coils?
Ooh, that's very faintly ringing a bell. That
we've got Will Coils. We haven't got much time today, so let's try. Let's do it quickly. So Damon Searle scored the goal. We think Will Coils. Oh, is it Will?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Will Coyle. Let's go with Will Coyle.
That sounds right.
Let's have Mike's answers.
So the goal scorer was Damon Searle, and the goalkeeper was William Coyles.
Oh, come on. We dug it out somewhere.
Yeah.
We definitely need to be locked up. That was impressive. That was teamwork there, Dan. I think it's fair to say. Right, well, let's get on to the X-Files section. Duncan.
1 second. I have now just pulled it up on my iPad.
Yeah.
There was another ex-Carlisle player played for Forest Green that day.
Oh, who?
There was 2.
Who would the one be? Give us a clue and I'll see if I can try and get it.
One was a Roddy signing who played 2 or 3 games with a very short first name.
No, can't.
Mo Harkin.
Mo Harkin played that day.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And the legend, 1-game wonder at Macclesfield away himself.
Paul Warhurst played.
Paul Warhurst played, yeah.
Oh, wow. 3 ex-Carlisle players in the lineup. That is quite impressive. Fair dues. Right, let's get on to the X-Files section, Dan, because I know you've got to dash soon. So let's get that bit wrapped up. So a few bits to cover this today, isn't there?
Yeah, and I've just lost it off my screen.
Oh, for God's sake. Not again.
No, I've got it back up. There we go. Goals and cards. Ashley Naddison scored a goal and missed a penalty. Fancy that. Tom Lawrence got a brace for Derby in a 2-0 win over Sheffield United, and they've actually gone off the bottom of the league now, which until the minus 5,000 points is pretty good.
Wayne Rooney's done an incredible job there as manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
As predicted by several Carlisle fans, Zanzala scored on his debut for Exeter. I think a lot of us saw that coming in. Richie Bennett scored a dramatic late equaliser in a Sutton's 3-all draw with Stevenages with some game. I saw it on Quest.
Before you go any further, I'd advise everybody to go out there and go and watch. I think it was it Stevenage's 3rd goal in this game? Possibly. He's either the 3rd or 2nd, I can't remember. Go and watch it. One of the goals, it's the most ridiculous goal you'll ever see. They get given a free kick, essentially, and the player tries to play it across field quickly, plays it straight to a Stevenage player or a Sutton player, I can't remember which way around it is, and he basically just fired it into the empty net because the goalkeeper had come way out. And it was just like, it's stupid goal.
It is.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Kedwin Scott scored a couple in both the games that Taylor Charters played in, we mentioned earlier.
I have a feeling one of them came from a Taylor Charters shot that was blocked, I think.
Possibly. Yeah. Mo Sagaff scored for Dagenham in the 2-0 win over Southend in the FA Trophy. And Liam Noble also scored in the trophy again for Morpeth. A 4-3 win over Boston. I think that was possibly from the penalty spot. I know I didn't put it in the notes. Up to Scotland, Gavin Riley scored 2 for Greenock Morton. Started to score a couple up there. He scored, was it last week, and then in the cup the other week?
Yep.
Daryl Duffy still playing, scored in another 3-all draw for Stranraer. And then midweek, not too much midweek, Cole Stockton scored in the opener in Morecambe's 2-1 defeat to Wigan. And Paddy Madden scored for Stockport again, which is one of our regulars. A little bit of other news. Peter Murphy was named the Scottish League 2 Manager of the Month for December. Annan have been on a great run of form.
They're fantastic, aren't they?
Flown really right up the table, so that's well deserved. Bastian Herry's Irish Odyssey is continuing. He's now moved to Finn Harps in his efforts to tick off every professional football club in North and Republic of Ireland.
Finn Harps, I think they're quite right up in the north, aren't they? They're that little section to the sort of northwest, aren't they? In the Republic, if I remember rightly. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
Not really unsurprising, this one. Keelan Leslie released by us in the end of December. He's signed for Workington. Did he have a little loan spell there?
He had a loan spell there. I think he did well. And I think they did a few bodies. And then they're top of the old National League... not National League, sorry. Which one are they? They'll be the Northern Premier First Division, something like that, isn't it? I can't remember what it is. But they're top because I think Marine have had a bit of a drop-off in form.
Yeah.
And sorry, I was going to say, actually, I didn't put this in the ring on it. I think David Simonton scored an absolute belter for them the other night against City of Liverpool. Go and check that out if you can. It's on Twitter. And
I can't take credit for this one, thanks to Kyle on Twitter for sending us it. Alex McQueen has left going between the likes of Dagenham and Barnet and such teams. He now plays for the greatly titled Indy 11 in America, who are a second division team. Who was it? I said plays for them. Who was it was playing for them? There was.
I don't remember.
I've forgotten who I said, but they had someone. I was like, oh, that's where he ended up. But there seemed to be a second division American team who are trying to push on, and he's signed there, ready for the new season, which starts shortly. I'm
just looking up their roster here, as it's called. Let me see if I can get it up before we go any further. Here's their roster. Nicky Law's there.
Nicky Laws, that was it.
Nicky Law, yeah, he's been around a bit. Looking through the rest of the squad, I can't really see too many others there.
You wonder if someone like Law, if he's doing some sort of coaching while he's there, you know.
Possibly. I mean, because he left them. He left Exeter, didn't he? After we played them last season, was it? I think.
Yeah.
When we beat them, I think he basically left to go to them. So there you go. Well, that's it then, Dan. Thanks once again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Sorry if you can hear me opening the door there, folks. I'm just letting a cat in.
I'm leaving the commentary in this time. I do apologise when I left it. I cut it out last week. That's a bad move by me. So this weekend, me and you obviously are going down to Forest Green Rovers, a nice little road trip. So we'll record some bits on our little journey, won't we? We'll do a little review episode to go out early next week for some crowd noise, because I know a lot of people enjoy that episode. Not everyone enjoys it, but it's something a little bit different, isn't it? Yeah. It gives you a feel for the game. And we'll do a little review of our little trip down there. And then obviously we'll be back next weekend to preview the game against Sutton. And I think, Sutton and Salford, actually. I forget that.
Yeah, it'll be a double header on it, Sutton and Salford.
So we'll do them in one go in the preview episode next week. And that's it, Dan. Thanks once again for joining me. And just to remind everyone, go and search out the Uniter 40R stuff and join the trust. Just join the trust and let's have our say. Let's get involved. And let's make this club united again. Basically, that's the way it is. Thanks, Dan, for joining me. Thanks everyone for listening. And up the Blues.
Up the Blues.